Let's jump right into this. Welcome to our explainer on Shadows and Synthesis, Achaemenid Cyprus, covering the years 540 to 331 BC. Now, to really grasp this incredibly transformative era, we can't just look at it from the top down. I want you to mentally step right into the sandals of a local Cypriot master artisan, living, working, and observing life under Persian rule.
Picture this. It's nighttime. You, our artisan, are standing in the massive, sprawling courtyard of the Palace of Vuni. All around you, hundreds of terracotta oil lamps are casting these long, flickering shadows against monumental stone walls. And in this incredibly vibrant space, you're just watching the empire's elite mingle. You're seeing this highly sophisticated social hierarchy unfolding right in front of you. It's a living, breathing fusion of Eastern imperial authority and your own local Mediterranean customs. You're watching your island home act as a vital strategic gear in literally the largest and most powerful empire of the ancient world, Achaemenid Persia.
Okay, so let's zoom out from that workbench in the courtyard for a second and look at the massive geopolitical reality of the Persian administrative system. As an artisan, you live on a Mediterranean island, sure, but politically, your fate is entirely tethered to the mainland.
Which brings us to Eber Nari. In Akkadian, this translates to beyond the river, meaning the lands west of the Euphrates. Cyprus was officially folded into this incredibly strategic western satrapy. But here's what's so fascinating. The island didn't actually face some heavy-handed, boots-on-the-ground military occupation. The Persians were surprisingly pragmatic. Cyprus basically acted as this crucial buffer zone and a really essential Mediterranean naval staging ground. The local city kingdoms essentially got to keep their internal autonomy. As long as they paid their tribute and kept the ships coming, they were left to their own devices.
If you look at the chronological record of these Eber Nari satraps, you'll see a rotating cast of mainland authority figures. There's Gubaru, who was appointed early on by Cyrus the Great, then Tatanai managing Levantine affairs a bit later, all the way down to Mazias near the tail end of the Persian period. But here's the kicker. As a Cypriot artisan, you probably wouldn't see these guys walking down the street. These satraps lived in mainland capitals like Damascus or Sidon. Your local Cypriot kings were the ones handling the day-to-day governance, and they only really answered to these mainland satraps when the great king demanded it.
So, bringing it back to your perspective as the artisan, how does this massive empire actually change your everyday life? Well, it sparks an absolute economic boom. The Achaemenids knew Cyprus was a gold mine, or, well, a copper mine. They valued the raw wealth that could literally be dug out of the ground and chopped down from the mountains.
You are quite literally forging the empire's wealth. Imagine working daily with huge hauls of raw copper ore pulled straight from the rich mines of Tamassos and Solowai. You're watching endless lines of carts bringing pine and cedar timber down from the Troodos Mountains, timber that is absolutely crucial for building and repairing the Persian Mediterranean fleet. The local kings were constantly driving all this extraction, and it wasn't just to line their own pockets. They had to pay those massive imperial tributes.
And because of that, an unbelievable economic shift is happening right before your eyes. On one side, you have the traditional, old-school Cypriot economy, heavy on raw copper extraction, barter, and local city kingdom oversight. But on the other side, the imperial economy is rolling into town. You start seeing standardized Persian currency everywhere, the gold daric and the silver siglos. This was a huge deal. It wasn't just a new way to pay taxes. This shift to standardized imperial money laid the total groundwork for the highly integrated Hellenistic economic systems that would pop up centuries later.
But hey, it wasn't just merchants and money flowing through Cyprus, right? It was also soldiers. Shift your gaze to the bustling harbor, and you witness a massive military buildup. It's this incredibly collaborative defense effort that brings a whole new energy to the island. The military synergy here is just wild. Take Xerxes' massive invasion of Greece in 480 BC, for example. Cyprus provided a staggering 150 ships for that campaign. Picture our artisan watching Cypriot Marines marching right down to the docks. They're carrying these highly distinctive, face-shaped shields, some of them featuring the face of a satyr or the god Pan, and they are standing literally shoulder to shoulder with elite Persian archers and the legendary immortals. It was a completely unprecedented fusion of local Cypriot nautical expertise paired with the sheer, formidable might of the Persian army.
Now, all this military and economic integration, it inevitably bleeds straight into the culture. Let's bring our focus back to the intimate space of our artisan's workbench to look at the changing fashions, art, and architecture that they're dealing with every single day.
Now, what's really interesting about the piece on this slide is the exquisite detailing.
This is an Achaemenid-inspired gold bracelet, and you can see those intricate animal heads, specifically ibexes, meeting right at the center. As a master artisan, these are the exact kinds of commissions you're getting. You are enthusiastically adopting Persian luxury styles, weaving that Eastern animal style into your own Mediterranean techniques, all to satisfy the rapidly changing, highly cosmopolitan tastes of the Cypriot elite.
You see this kind of cultural tug-of-war everywhere, especially in fashion and sculpture. The older, more rigid Eastern aesthetics that you were probably originally trained in, think Assyrian-style beards, Egyptian wigs, and stiff formal postures, are suddenly crashing into these newly arriving, super dynamic Greek styles. These Greek innovations are bringing in flowing Ionian dress, dynamic naturalism. It's a completely different vibe. And the people walking around the palace? They are quite literally wearing this blending of worlds. Which actually brings us to the physical space where all of this was happening. The architecture of Voni Palace perfectly captures this hybridity. It wasn't just some forced, wholesale imposition of Persian culture. Not at all. It's monumental architecture, beautifully mixed Mediterranean courtyards, right alongside Eastern structural elements. It acted as this physical, mediated space where local Cypriot identity and imperial Achaemenid power could peacefully and profitably coexist.
So let's bring it all full circle, back to that nighttime courtyard we imagined at the very beginning. As the last of the Achaemenid oil lamps flickered out in the palaces of Vuni, they left behind an island forever transformed. Because even when the Persian Empire finally fell to Alexander the Great in 331 BC, the administrative systems, the art, and that incredible Greco-Persian synthesis our artisan helped build, it all survived. It laid the very foundation for the prosperity of the eras that followed.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. When the fires of an empire fade, what remains of the cultures they fuse together? For Cyprus, it wasn't just a bunch of ruins. It was an incredibly resilient, rich, and composite identity that went on to shape the Mediterranean for centuries to come. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer today, and I really hope it sparked your curiosity to dive even deeper into this fascinating intersection of history.